Hello and welcome back to the Level Up with Loraine podcast. I am your host, Loraine, and I'm very excited about today's episode. We are going to be talking about how to position yourself for success. Now, there is no one size fits all sort of manual for everyone. However, there are a number of levers that you can pull and leverage for your own benefit. And so those are what we're going to be focusing on and discussing in depth. For me, success is when opportunity meets preparation. And this is a show about how do you prepare yourself for that opportunity? What are some of the things you can start to do actively, intentionally, to find yourself in that position such that when opportunity arises, you are ready for it. I am also particularly excited about today's episode because we have a special guest who is going to join us to talk about their journey and how they positioned themselves for success. This guest is also very special to me because he is my first guest, but he's also my husband. And so I am very excited to be introducing my husband on the podcast, and for my listeners to be able to get to know him, to learn a little bit more about him, right, through this episode. So without wasting time, grab a drink of your choice, get cozy, and let's get started. Okay, so welcome. Welcome to the show.
Excited.
Thank you so much for joining. So we're talking about positioning yourself for success, but maybe you can introduce yourself to the people first.
Okay. So I'm Simba, obviously your husband. Really excited to be on the podcast to share some of my thoughts and some of my experiences, and hopefully help some people out there navigate their careers.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you're the first guest, obviously. So you and I have gone through the 8 sort of points that we want to talk about today. So I'll kickstart, right? And I think one thing that's very important in positioning yourself for success is setting clear goals. So, identifying what you want to achieve, setting specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals. So that's the SMART, S-M-A-R-T way of sort of defining those, writing them down and regularly reviewing them and adjusting them as needed. Would you agree?
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. So when you think of that and you look back on your career, what kind of goals would you say you set for yourself that speak to them being specific, and then you landing a certain job, or being measurable and you then being able to see after a certain time that actually, I can measure the success of this goal, or being time bound? Can you give maybe some examples of that?
Okay, so I think it starts from a very practical level, just in terms of in your current job, you have certain deliverables, you have certain targets that you would have set together with your management. And it's important just to follow that simple framework in terms of how you're going to go about achieving those goals. Because something as simple as that is often overlooked. So I'll give an example for myself. Often in my career, I would have something that I would be assigned to do.
Yeah.
But I would never think about it in terms of this framework, right? So is it specific? Is it measurable? Is it attainable? Is it realistic? Is it time bound?
Yeah.
And often, I would get to a stage where I go through a long period just trying to figure out how am I going to achieve this goal, but never sitting down in a practical way to actually frame what the goal is and how to achieve it. So just in that simple example, I find a lot of people stumble, and then you get to a stage where at the end of the year in performance reviews, you and your manager are misaligned on goals
Absolutely.
that you would have set, or that your manager would have set for you.
Yeah.
Just thinking bigger picture for me, I know one of the things I realized, after so call it maybe the first phase of my career, is that I needed to go back and upskill myself. And after doing some research and speaking to colleagues, friends, and family, I decided that I would go and do an MBA. So, and that really, I think, was a big turning point for me. Going into the MBA, not only learning technically new things, but just also being able to build a network and be surrounded by people that thought differently from me, were from different backgrounds, and had already achieved a lot of success in their careers. It really opened my eyes to what was possible.
Great. And I think maybe it's important for us to tell the listeners that your field, so Simba is in supply chain. He's a senior manager in the supply chain field. And what I want to ask about the MBA, and maybe if we can zoom in on that specifically, did you write this down? Was this a goal that you knew or had in mind that you wrote down somewhere or started planning for? How did that come about?
Yeah, so it was definitely a goal that I set for myself. And it really came about from realizing that I wasn't where I wanted to be in my career, and that I needed to do something drastic to at least kickstart, if I can use that word, myself professionally. So, I mean, as you would know, doing an MBA is not something that you just say you want to do and tomorrow you go and start doing it. There is a big financial commitment. There is a lot of research that you need to do into where you want to actually go do the MBA. There is applications that you need to send out. So it was almost like a 2-year process of me doing all of those things. Then, having it in the back of my mind that I wanted to start the MBA in a certain year for me, which was 2014. So certainly there was a lot of planning. It was a clear goal, and it took time and effort and a lot of sacrifice for me to be able to say I was not even to say to complete it, just to be able to go and do the actual MBA.
All right. So thank you for that. And I think we agree that setting clear goals will help you achieve, those goals, but also, puts you a step ahead or a step closer to success, right? So the next thing I think, or rather based on my experience and the research that I've done, is developing a growth mindset. And what that means is embracing challenges, learning from failures, and continually working to improve yourself and not being stopped by those in your journey to success. So believing that your abilities, your talents, and etc. can be developed through hard work, practice, and dedication. So when you reflect on that particular thing, developing a growth mindset, can you tell us maybe of times when you've had to embrace challenges? And you can give examples, whether it's in your MBA journey or in your career, or when you left a certain job for another job, etc. When have you had to embrace challenges, learn from failures, and found that actually helped you improve than, the Simba before that failure or challenge?
So this one is quite a key one for me because, I mean, the whole concept of the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset was something that when I came across it, and I actually read the book by the author that wrote the book on mindset. It really pivoted me, if I can say that. It put me in a place where I was now able to realize that, I was not fixed in terms of what I could do or what my abilities were or how I was perceived in the company that I work for. That if I actually worked on my abilities, both technical abilities, soft skills, everything, I could actually then start to develop and grow and move into um, bigger and bigger challenges and get bigger and bigger responsibilities. So for me, it was just around when I was promoted and I started a new role. It was a big jump for me, and I struggled.
Yeah.
Probably for the first year in the role, I really struggled. I just felt like maybe, I had gone into something that I was not capable of doing.
Yeah.
And my manager, I credit to him, kept on telling me that, Simba, it's not that you can't do this. I see very much a lot of potential in you, but there's something holding you back. I don't know what that is. And you need to go out there and take the bull by the horn and, achieve the potential that I can see in you.
Yeah.
So when I, came across this concept of the growth mindset, it really opened my eyes to say, okay, it's not that I'm not capable of achieving success at this level. I am capable. I just need to work at it. And if I continue to learn and grow and develop the skills and abilities that are needed at this level, I will achieve this success. And I tell you what, once I just realized that, and once I, started on that journey of actually now, being intentional about what are the skills and abilities that I need to develop in order for me to be successful, and actually going out and developing those skills and abilities, it led to a 360 turnaround in my abilities. I mean, I remember one-on-one conversation where my manager was telling me that the Simba that has turned up this year is completely different.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
From, what I was literally 2 months before reading that book and just, applying that concept to my career. So absolutely key and crucial concept, which is not just related to career and professional setting. It applies to everything.
Yeah.
Just even with children, your child's ability to learn. So often, especially when we were growing up, it was like what we were always taught to believe was that it was either you were intelligent or you were not.
Yeah.
There was no in between. But with that concept, it actually demystifies that to say nobody is a certain way and cannot change. It's up to you to do what is necessary to build yourself up, to continue to grow and learn and develop. So, yeah, such a big concept for me.
Great. So you see, this point of growth mindset or developing one is closely linked to the third strategy in positioning yourself for success, which is to continually learn and improve. And we won't spend too much time on this one because you've already touched on it when you spoke about investing in your education, writing down the goal of wanting to do your MBA, actively working towards it, and then ultimately achieving it. It also speaks to taking courses, reading books like the Growth Mindset book that you read. That
Mindset by Dweck, I think.
And we will link the book in the description at the end of this. But yeah, so it's things like that you are intentionally investing in yourself to improve yourself, such that when the right opportunity comes up, it's being met by that preparation, which culminates into success. So the next point or strategy I want to talk about is building a strong network. Now, I'm very passionate about this one in particular because my very first job was because of a connection I made with a lady called Lele, who was the head of HR at Allen Gray at that time. And honestly, I was just out of varsity, and I met her at some networking event. She met me once, and we really connected, and she really liked me. And she told me she didn't have a job in HR at that time, but she had an entry-level role, which she said she wanted me to give to me.
Yeah.
And it would it would help me with learning the ropes of the business, such that as soon as a role came up within HR, she would take me.
Yeah.
And she did. So I think this speaks, again, it reiterates for me the importance of a strong network, strong connections in the world of work.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, maybe you can share with the listeners, and we can talk around some of the relationships you have cultivated, that have provided support, advice, opportunities for you in your career journey so far.
Okay, so I think also very similar to you in that even the first job that I ever got, it was a referral from a university mate that I was close to, that we used to always exchange notes about the field of supply chain and jobs that were potentially out there for us. So he was a year ahead, and he got the job at this company. And when they were now looking for someone else, he then put myself forward for that job. So, because we had that network and we had that professional relationship, and he felt that I would potentially good for that role. And it's been a recurring theme for me throughout my career.
Yeah.
That, by having a network of people that know of you and your skills, your capabilities.
Yeah.
When they're in certain rooms where, opportunities that may be a good fit for you are being discussed, they can put your name forward. But I think besides the role that having a network can play in presenting opportunities, I think networks are also very important, or having people that can also give you advice,
yeah,
and hold you accountable as well, but maybe without the consequences of maybe a manager reportee relationship.
Yeah.
Is also very crucial, and has been also very crucial for me, having those people that can be honest with me.
Yeah.
And tell me where I'm going astray, and also help provide guidance on what I need to do to get back on track. I've had that also, with the one company I work for. I had a mentor that provided me with a lot of guidance in terms of what I needed to do to get back on track within my career. And it's something that I always hold dear. And it made me realize the importance of having people that can be honest with you.
Yeah.
Within your professional network, because sometimes you don't realize where you're going wrong, but if you then bounce ideas, or have someone that you can trust, that you talk to about struggles that you may be having in your career, they can guide you, and also be very honest with you in terms of where you're going wrong and what you need to do to get yourself back where you should be. So
I actually spoke about this in my last episode, dealing with self-doubt, when one of the tips is to have such people in your life who know you so well that you can be vulnerable with, and that can call you out, be able to point you in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Exactly what you've just shared. All right. So the next important strategy in positioning yourself for success is identifying your unique strengths and talents and finding ways to apply them in your work. So this will not only make you more valuable to your employers, but also will help you yourself feel more fulfilled and engaged in your career. So Simba, allow me to put you on the spot here. Maybe you can share with us what are your unique strengths or talents that you have harnessed to differentiate yourself from your peers, and to be more valuable in your employer's eyes. What is that thing? What are those strengths, those talents that have just set you apart and given you that competitive edge?
I think for me, one that immediately comes to mind is just about being reliable, or the ability to deliver on commitments made. So, promises made, promises kept.
Yeah.
It may sound trivial, but, in the corporate environment, companies now know, how to hire smart people that are technically brilliant. But it's the softer things like, just that ability to deliver on commitments and to deliver on promises consistently.
Yeah.
Which already sets people apart. And when I realized that, it's something that I then just ran with, to say, if I have a project or commitments or deliverables that I need to deliver on, I make sure I deliver on them.
Yeah.
And once you get that reputation for doing that, when conversations are being held for by leadership, when they're looking for people to do certain tasks or to give a certain responsibility or role or promotion to, those are the kind of attributes that will often set you apart.
Yeah.
Secondly, for me is, as I've become, a manager leading teams, I have seen that I have a passion for developing talent and guiding, strong people to be the best that they can possibly be.
Okay.
And it's something that I take pride in, that, gives me fulfillment, like, to your point, just to see, people developing and excelling and getting, to higher and higher levels, or, achieving a lot of success in their careers. So it's something, that really fuels me, and it's something, that I've made known.
Yeah.
To the leadership within my company, that it's something that I enjoy, and I would always like to be in a position where I can continue to do that.
Yeah. And I think, just to wrap up that point, technical competence is not enough, at work. You absolutely have to have that superpower. So one of my colleagues always asks candidates this in interviews: what is your superpower? And that's his way of trying to, understand what that person brings to the table outside of their technical competence.
Yeah.
So what is your superpower? And write it down. Think about it and write it down. And if you're not asked in an interview, still find a way to share it, right?
Yeah.
Because it is a selling point, and it is what will separate you from the other candidates. Okay, so we're almost done. We're down to three more strategies. Developing a positive attitude. For me, this is self-explanatory, and this really speaks to cultivating a positive attitude and outlook, even in the face of challenges or setbacks. And no employer wants to work with someone who is a pessimist, who sees the glass half empty, who doesn't have a sense of humor, who focuses more on problems than solutions.
Yeah.
And so it is very important to develop a positive attitude and be known in your workplace as that person who brings solutions, who's collaborative, who is, of course, don't go outside of your personality or character and try to put on a front, but just be that person that is approachable and, who is just positive. So that's a quick one. But I want to focus more on this particular one, taking calculated risks.
Yeah.
So maybe let's dwell on this, Simba. So can you maybe talk around a time where you were willing to take a calculated risk, right? Stepping outside of your comfort zone, and how this helped you gain new experiences or new opportunity that led to success?
All right. So just going back to that example I gave about the MBA. So that was a risk. because it involved leaving a job and going back into full-time study without any guarantee that after that study, I would be able to quickly go back into the job market.
Yeah.
But the calculation that I made was that by going out and doing the MBA, I would be able to not just gain new skills and become more marketable that way. I would also be able to develop a network of people that would help me throughout possibly the rest of my career. And it ultimately, worked out for me. So this is very important, especially early on in one's career. It's so important to do that, to understand what are the opportunities that are available to me, and how can I go out there and explore that. So it may be different roles within the company that you're working for, which may not be at all associated to what you would have been hired to do. If you're in a position where you can go out and explore such opportunities, 100% go out and do it, especially early on in your career, because there is very little, if I want to call it, downside. And if it doesn't work out, what's the worst that could happen? You just go back to what you were doing before. So it's absolutely key to do that, because you're then able to then discover more about yourself and what it is that really makes you tick. So yeah, absolutely, it's very key, this.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think the last thing we want to share with my listeners is, or the last point or strategy rather, is be proactive. Take ownership of your career and actively seek out opportunities to advance and grow.
Yeah.
Do not wait for others to notice your potential or offer you opportunities, because none of that is ever served on a silver platter.
Yeah.
You have to go out 9 times out of 10 out of your comfort zone for you to go and seek and find those opportunities.
Yeah.
So create your own path to success. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. You need to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
There's no other way of putting it. I find it in the teams that I lead, that the individuals that are able to showcase their work and showcase their abilities and make it known that they are there are the ones that get more often than not picked to go and progress into other things in their careers, and they rise faster. It's as simple as that. Those that just focus on keeping their heads down and not marketing themselves tend to develop slow. So there's a framework that we use at work, which is the PI, which is there's 3 elements. There's performance, which is what gets you into the door, gives you the right to be discussed when it comes to the career progression.
Okay.
Then there's image, right, which is more about how do you come across.
How are you showing up?
How do you show up to work? And then the third is about exposure. So exposure is what we're talking about now, where you make it known of who you are, what you're doing, what you've achieved, what you want to do next. Without that, your progression will be slow, especially as you continue to get to higher and higher levels within your career. So absolutely, this is very important. But having said all of that, it all starts with performance.
Yeah. Performance really is the base, right?
Yes.
Before you can even start to talk image or exposure or seek all of that, of course, you have to be confident.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Was exciting for me.
Yes.
I'm so excited that you joined me today on this very, I think, critical topic.
Yep.
Any closing remarks?
No. Firstly, thanks for having me. Career growth, tips and tricks on how to navigate the world of career and corporate and self-development are um, topics that are close to my heart. And hopefully you can invite me in future to maybe further unpack one of these or something else within the realm of professional development.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are our strategies and some of the tactics that we've used to position ourselves for success. I hope this episode was helpful. I hope it was useful. Please hit me up if you have any questions. I have tagged my email address in the description box. If you have any questions, I am very happy to help. Otherwise, if you're hearing this message, it means you've listened to my episode till the very end. And for that, I am truly thankful. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and share this episode with your friends. I'm already excited for the next episode where my very good friend will be joining me as a guest. So stay tuned. Until then, goodbye and continue to level up.